Okay, so put text inside a shadow box. So this is a similar thing with the box, right? But I'm going to make the box pop even more. And in this case, this is a paragraph that's part of a longer article. This is the story of Bessie Coleman, who was a pioneering aviator in the 1920s, who happens to be African-American and a woman. So she faced multiple barriers. She has a great story about intersectionality. And there are some words that are here that are part of this about how she was described in the media that I would love for my students, again, to pop out for them to see, because I like, in teaching history, one of the things we talk about is the differences in how language and our use of language and terms has changed over time. So here are the words I'm going to pop out. These are words that we don't use anymore, right? Adding the ESS to feminize a word, the word Negro we don't use to describe African American or Black people, and then adding the IX at the end of a job to feminize, again, the person who's doing it. So anyway, interesting things I think that I would love to talk about with my students. You can see in this box here, right, there are actually 3 different colors we're working with. We have the lilac or lavender border, that's the shadow. There's a darker lilac or lavender border, that's the border. And then that's actually white behind the wording that's in the box that floats on top. And I have to put the color white in there, because if I don't, what's going to come through is the light lilac from the background. So again, 3 different colors I'm working with. And in this case, we're actually using that div tag again, but we're putting a div inside of a div. So let's take a look at this. So let me go back into my other share. Okay. So inside, here's the shadow box, right? Let's go into edit, HTML view. And I'm going to go find those quotes. Here we go. I'm going to do this a little bit differently here, because in the article, right, those 3 quotes are part of the prose that the article is written in. So I'm actually going to pull those out, and they're going to be there. They're going to be there twice. I'm going to edit the wording just a little bit. In fact, let me come back into this view so to make it easier. So here are these 3 quotes, right? First, colored aviatrix, nearest air pilot, colored woman. Okay. I'm going to say headlines such as, I'm going to actually change that, because this is going to make better sense from a prose perspective. And I'm thinking of students who will be listening to the page using a screen reader, and not students who are looking at the page, right? Students who are privileged with sight. So I'm going to change to say headlines such as, the following were frequently used. Okay. And then I'm going to get rid of that extra sentence at the end there. So now when I pull this quote out here, right, that's going to make a little bit more sense in terms of, it has the prose flowing, right? That makes sense from a grammatical stylistic writing style perspective, but it'll also make it easier for me to, again, pop out from a visual perspective. So let's go back into the edit view, and I've actually made things a little bit easier for myself, because I just stuck in some empty paragraphs here, and we'll see that when I switch to code view. So there are those empty paragraphs, right? There's one right there. I'm going to get rid of that. And there's another one right there. I'm going to get rid of that. There are my 3 quotes. I'm going to now paste in the code that I mentioned before. So I have a div inside of a div, right? There's that div for division tag. And then I've got another one on top of it. You see where it says your text goes here? Well, I'm just going to basically cut that and replace that. Okay, and get rid of that. So now if I switch back to view, I should see that purple, and I do. Now, when you saw the demonstration I had before, right, it was actually a little bit different. I had these on separate lines. Okay. That kind of pops that out a little bit. Remember the numbers I can play with. I can play with the width of the the item is the margin, and then I have padding, which is the distance between the text and the border walls. And remember, I mentioned those three colors, right? So let's go back into the code, and the first div is the lilac light color in the background, right? That's on the background, and then the second div floats on top of it. And that background color there, so here's the style, right? When we talked about style before, there's a div tag, margin, okay, 30 pixels, 25, 10 pixels, 25. So that's the margin around the edges. And then the background color is that code. I'm going to come back to color codes in just a moment, but that is the lilac color. And then in front is the second div, and this has multiple styles, right? It has padding. So we talked about that. That's the padding inside the border. It has the border. There we go, right? 4 pixels, solid. That's a solid border. You see the different color code here. That color code is the darker purple. And then look at this. There's background. And I recognize this code. 6Fs is white. So that's all white there. That's why there's that white background. If I get rid of that background and I go back, you see how the light purple, the lighter lilac shows through? That's why I have to give it a white background for the one that's on top. So let's go here and paste that again. Okay. And then finally, for this one that's on top, remember it's a shadow, right? It's floating. So I have to change the position of that top box, that top div. And that's where we have position. Relative means it's relative to the other elements on the page that are around it. And you can see that it's offset negative 20 pixels from the top, which means down 20 pixels, and then negative 20 pixels from the left, which means right 20 pixels. So let's take again, I'm going to change these numbers so we'll see what that looks like. So that's a 20 pixel difference right there. That's that offset in the background. If I go back to the code, let's make that 5 pixels. Now see what that looks like right there. So that's a much narrow, right? That's a much narrower shadow. It's a much thinner bezel, you could say. So those are the things we can do with that. And inside this box, right? Inside, this is just text. So we're looking at, this could be an image. It could be an embedded video. There's nothing special about what's inside this box. It's just how it's being formatted, how it's being displayed on the page. Okay, so let me mention the code. Thank you, Heidi, for your message. And in fact, I did not email you Zooms from yesterday. So I'm going to write that down because I think I didn't know. Okay. All right. Colors. Okay. Let me go back to the code and mention these again. So web pages display colors in 6 hexadecimal codes. So 0 to F are the numbers there. The all Fs is white. So it probably won't surprise you if I say all zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is black. So if you can see this, the background is black there. Let me go back to that bigger offset. All right, so I've got a black background now because I changed the code. So zeros is black, Fs is white. Oh my gosh, Greg, what can we do in between? Well, what you want to do is go to a page, and I'm going to pull up that URL in just a moment. There are lots of places to find out what the HTML color codes are. The one that I'm going to put in the chat right now, and the one that is also in the resources that's part of this page, is a link called htmlcolorcodes.info. So I will show you that. So this is the HTML color chart. This is the easiest one that I find to work with. You know what? I like this code. Oh, I like this color right here. A little bit darker maybe, right? So I can copy this code, and if I want to put that in, let's go for yellow actually. So there's that. Let me copy that, come back into this page here. There we go. Let's make the background yellow instead of white for behind the text. Ooh, Oh, I made the text yellow. Excuse me. Did I? What did I do there? Oh, yeah. Oh, because I put two hashtags in there. That was a mistake. All right, so this should be better. There we go. So there's a yellow in the floating one, right? And then I saw black in the background. And again, that third color, right, is the border around the text box. One more thing I want to say about color, actually, two more things I want to say about color. One is the colors of our college. Like, who doesn't want to have that awesome blue and orange on the stuff that they're creating? I actually use the blue and orange inside my Canvas pages for my courses. So how do I find out that blue and orange? Well, you can actually go to the CRC website, the employees side, and one of the links up there is college-wide public information office. And if I go to the branding toolkit, there it is, explore our brand. Again, I'll put this link in the chat for you. And here's the color guide. So if I copy this link, again, I'll put it into chat. If I want to use our primary blue, here's the code right there, 00263D. I'm going to copy that, come back into here. Let's go ahead and make that the backgrounds, the big background, not the floaty one. So that right now is that black. I don't want to have two hashtags, just one. That was a mistake I made before. Okay, and then that is harder to see because it's also dark color, but that's that CRC blue. So that's another place to find colors. And then the other thing I want to say related to accessibility is it's really important that the contrast between the text and the background be high enough so that someone who has a hard time with contrast can easily see the text. A person with a screen reader is not going to have a problem with contrast because they're going to hear the letters. They're going to hear the wording rather, as it's written on the page. But someone who's not using a screen reader, who has low vision themselves, those of us who are getting older have low vision. I know that, and I'm only 51, but I already have some challenges with contrast. Or if they happen to be using a crappy monitor, they might have some contrast issues. So how do you know that your contrast is good enough? Well, of course, there's a website for that. I'll just pull that up here and, oh, I thought I had it handy, but I need to go someplace else to find it. Well, when in doubt, search Google because I know that it's there. Here we go. WebAIM color contrast checker. I'm going to put that link again in these two places. And it's already on that resource document that I have. And then let me pull it into my share as well. So this is the WebAIM Web Accessibility in Mind. You can see down here these WCAGAA. That is one of the standards. It's the Web Content Accessibility Group, WCAG. AA is a standard. AAA is a higher standard. And you see they've got that pass button there, right? So that's good. Let's see if we can do that. So in this example, right, what's my background color? My background color is the CRC blue. Oops. I need to go find that number. There it is. 00263D, right? So this dark blue with the light blue, oh my gosh, that fails. So no, I don't want that. I want it all white, right? FFFF. Yeah, that passes. So if I had a CRC blue in the background with white text, no problem. If I make the text a little bit darker and there's a slider here, I'll eventually fail. There we go. You can see this changing from pass to fail as I slide. So this gray color here I have for the text is not high enough contrast. So if you are playing with colors, like let's go back to the example I have on the page right now. Let's see if I'm good enough, right? Yellow and blue. So the yellow color is this 4 Fs and a couple of zeros. Okay, so that's the background. And then the blue color that I'm working with, or the text color rather, is Oops. Oh, I don't have the text color changed. So that's black. Okay, well, then that should be fine, but let's find out, right? The text color, all zeros is black, and I'm sure that'll be fine. That's okay. Let's say I had an error though. You know what? I'm going to go to another course because I'm going to see if this is an error here. So let me go into my history class for this fall. And I'm going to go here, this banner right here, right? That says History of the United States CRC. This uses the orange and blue colors from CRC. So let's see if that is, there's that blue 00263D. So that is the background. Oops. And then the foreground is this orange, and that is F260. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Copy that. Come back over here. So small text, it passes all the tests except for WCAG AAA. Currently in the state of California, United States, Chancellor's Office, AA is what we need to pass. I wouldn't be surprised if we switch to AAA at some point. So right now, it's all good, but someday it might not be good. So therefore, what I might do is come back and say, okay, well, I have the official CRC blue and orange, but I want to use the orange text on a blue background. Maybe I should lighten this orange and keep lightening until it passes. There we go. And so now that passes the accessibility checker test, right? So this contrast checker by the WebAIM group is pretty useful and pretty helpful.